Be in no doubt that plug-in hybrids are going to be coming at us left, right and centre over the next few years as manufacturers battle to meet CO2 targets. The subject of today's review is the perfect example. It's the more expensive and more powerful of two plug-in hybrid Q5s offered by Audi, and it's called the Q5 55 TFSI E-Quattro S-Line competition. And despite being a big and heavy SUV with 357 horsepower to play with, its official CO2 emissions are a company car tax friendly 49 grams per kilometre. In this CarGurus UK video review, we're going to take a closer look at this Audi plug-in hybrid. But before we do that, make sure you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon, which switches on the notifications so that you catch all of our latest videos. To recap, if a hybrid uses an electric motor and an internal combustion engine, a plug-in hybrid uses a bigger battery to power that electric motor, which gets you a greater range, better fuel economy and those low CO2 emissions. And on this Q5, you plug it in just here. Charging the 14.1 kilowatt hour battery takes around 2 to 3 hours from a dedicated wall box, which gives you up to 26 miles of all electric range. For many people, that will be enough to cover a large proportion of their driving. There are, however, a few common drawbacks to plug-in hybrids. The fact that those batteries are so large means they do tend to take up quite a lot of the boot space, in which case you're left with a relatively small boot. And then the charging cables in this big bag, well, they have to go somewhere, so that already small boot feels 20% smaller yet again. In fact, with a capacity of 395 litres, the plug-in hybrid Q5 is a full 155 litres down on boot space compared with a standard petrol or diesel equivalent. At least it's easy to fold the rear seats thanks to this quick release lever here, and usefully they fold 40-20-40. It's better news as far as rear passenger room is concerned, because the Q5 plug-in hybrid continues to be roomy back here, and you can even slide and recline these rear seats for extra comfort. You may have noticed that Audi's not making a stylistic song and dance of its cars being electrified. This looks like any other Audi Q5, sharp, smart, premium, and frankly a bit ordinary. In fact, you wouldn't know it's electrified unless you saw it plugged in. Now, listen to this door as I close it. So satisfying. It's so hefty and solid in its construction. It's like shutting yourself inside a bank vault, but with massage seats and swaths of upmarket material. From the click of the controls to the appearance of the various screens and the general plushness in here. Much like on the outside, at first there doesn't appear to be anything that distinguishes this plug-in hybrid from other Q5s. Look more closely though, and the clues start to emerge, such as the separate gauge for battery power, the more complex trip computer, and the graphics showing how the power is flowing through the car. You get a few extra screens and modes to enjoy as well. Now, as well as your normal drive select modes, which you access from this button here, there's also another button which allows you to choose between full electric, hybrid and battery hold, which saves the charge of the battery for later on in your journey. This is all very well, but the buttons are so low down that you have to divert your eyes off the road quite far to choose what function you want. As you can hear, or not hear, we are in full electric mode, which is the default mode when you first switch on your Audi Q5 plug-in hybrid, and it is serenely quiet, and you can stay in this mode all the way up to motorway speeds, although it's not the fastest way to get around. For that, you'll need the assistance of the petrol engine, which with 252 horsepower would be more than powerful enough by itself. Combine it with the extra boost from the electric motor and you have 367 horsepower to play with. It's no surprise that this car feels rapid. It gets from 0 to 62 in just 5.3 seconds, which is only 0.2 slower than the performance-orientated SQ5. As for overtaking punch, well, that feels almost instant. Don't, however, let that trick you into thinking this is a performance car in disguise, because it feels neither as agile as a standard Q5 or rich enough in its feedback. That's not to say the Q5 plug-in hybrid is bad to drive, it's just not sporty. But what you do get is a quiet, cosseting SUV with a high up view of the road, and it feels safe and solid. The ride on those 20-inch alloy wheels though is a little harsh, and the car does feel heavy. But if you want something that's large and luxurious, it definitely fits the bill. Fuel economy depends on how often you charge the battery. Do it all the time and it's excellent. Rely on mostly petrol power and you'll see about 35 miles per gallon. The good news is, regardless of how you choose to drive your Q5 hybrid, the way the petrol and electric power sources interact is generally extremely smooth. The only time I've noticed it really get caught out is when you're pulling away and you give the throttle a bit of a prod. The automatic gearbox goes for the next gear and there's a pause, while the engine, electric motor and gearbox all figure out what to do. That aside, the way the Q5 plug-in hybrid juggles petrol and electric power is very convincing, and when it's in hybrid setting, it runs on electric mode a lot of the time. As accomplished as the Audi Q5 plug-in hybrid is, the things that may be difficult to get to grips with is why you would choose one over a regular petrol or a diesel. Those big heavy batteries make it not quite as pleasant to drive, it has a small boot, and at £55,000 it's expensive. There are two possible answers. One, that you like the idea of driving under electric power, and secondly, those company car tax savings make it difficult to ignore, especially when compared with similarly expensive SUVs. And if those two apply to you, then there's a lot to like here. Could you be swayed by this Q5 plug-in hybrid? And can you even remember its full name? Let us know in the comments. And as ever, please do like and subscribe. And when it comes to buying your next car, remember that CarGurus.co.uk is the place to go to find great deals from top-rated dealers.